How's it going, guys? My name is Artorigold, and today I'd like to go over a Scrim game between two high-ranked Overwatch teams. I want to talk about what goes wrong, the misplays, the strategies, and how even joining an Overwatch team can really help you improve as a player. So you're going to see a lot of different things. I'm going to go over all of the mistakes that we make as a team or as me as an individual, and maybe even what the enemy team is doing wrong and how they can improve as well. One of the things I'd like to start off talking about is I believe joining an Overwatch team, and anybody can do it. Don't think that you're restricted by your rank or anything like that. You can always just go and look around on Discords and on forums, and you can find a group of people around your own SR, and you could start scrimming against other teams. And you might not be going pro or hitting the Overwatch League anytime soon, but playing with a team will help you improve immensely. You will learn to work together as a team, you will learn coordination, you will learn all sorts of different things that can help you improve as a player and on the ladder. You'll probably also make a lot of friends along the way, so that's always good too. One of the things that we're going to do anyways in this game is we are on King's Row. So one of the main strategies to King's Row, it's different on defense and offense, and there's different varieties of it. But for this one, we're going to run a GOATS comp. I will be on Lucio, and on defense, I think I will be on Zenyatta. And so we're going to run a Rhine, Zarya, and Diva for our tanks, and basically as our DPS as well. And then we will have a Brig, Lucio, and Ana for our healers, which is kind of a very standard team comp and works really well this meta, and especially good on King's Row. So our main strategy here, and you'll see it right here, is right around this choke. You want to just save your speed boost, don't use it out of the gate. You want to save it for you get right around here to this area, right around this choke, and then you want to activate your speed boost, amp it up, and then your tanks are immediately going to be able to get on the point. So one of the things about King's Row is that the point is so close. Like, this is the choke point right here, but most teams are going to play around this choke because of the natural cover right here, and pretty much nobody is ever going to go inside this area. Maybe some Junkrat player maybe would do that, I don't know. But there's pretty much going to be nobody to the right of the map. That's a really poor positioning. Because the point's so close and there's not really like a choke point that could keep people back, and there's not a good spam entry, especially because there's a lot of like high in the air and skybox areas that like somebody could take advantage of. And there's also another big reason on this map is because there's a Widowmaker line of sight right from spawn on like the perfect high ground that allows you to see anybody over here and here and here, meaning that Widowmaker is going to have the best time. So Widowmaker, as good as she is on this map, people are kind of already starting to play more in the back line over here because it prevents anybody from being able to get picks from spawn, because Widowmaker just has this best line of sight of ever. And if you decide to peek these areas, then at that point a team would immediately swap to Widowmaker and be able to create picks that way, because it's almost impossible to contest a Widowmaker in that spawn area. A lot of strategies that some people use is they like to get the Widowmaker and they try to put her somewhere around here and get a good line of sight, which isn't a bad strategy. I think if you have a Widowmaker player on your team, I definitely recommend using it. Widowmaker is really good here on King's Row, especially on attack. GOATS is also a very good strategy as well. So the reason why we save speed boost is because there's so little like distance here to the point. The speed boost is basically going to make it so we just instantly hop on this point, immediately start contesting it, immediately start pressuring the enemy team, and they have to immediately contest us, or else they're going to start giving away ticks. So we'll see how this plays out for us. So as you see, we speed right to choke, and basically the goal of Lucio on this instance is you want to stay on speed for a good portion of it, and you want to be able to let your Reinhardt engage. So you want to get around here on the wall rides and use your amp it up whenever you can for healing, but stay on the speed aura in order to finish and pursue people who are low. So in this instance, we did really well. The enemy team was not able to prepare for that kind of aggression. So now one of the things that we're going to do here, and this is very important, One of the important things you need to do here is you need to continue your aggression. So one of the main strategies is you want to leave one person behind on the cart. You want to make sure Rein and Zarya move forward, because Rein is going to be like your primary damage dealer along with Zarya for a GOAT comp, and especially because our Zarya has high energy from the first fight, and being able to engage again allows her to build towards another graviton and keep her energy charge, which is extremely important for a Zarya in this instance. And your Ana is going to push up because she is going to be your main healer, and you have basically a couple of options what you can do for the cart. You can either leave the D.Va on it, which is okay, it's not bad, you're kind of missing out on a little bit of more damage. You can leave the Lucio on it, which would be terrible because then you're missing out on the speed boost, and the speed boost is pretty much what you need in order to engage and get these stagger picks. Because as you'll see here when I hit play, you'll see I'm using my speed boost, and my Reinhardt, who normally wouldn't be able to catch these people who are trying to escape, is going to be able to just hammer them down. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our Brig sit on the cart and push it, while we're going to go ahead and try to get for these stagger picks. As we see here, I'm going to stay on speed for the most part because I want to engage. I want to make sure we get this Zarya. Getting this Zarya is huge. Not only is she going to be losing her high energy, it's just a pick that probably they didn't even expect. And then we also get the Brig who is with her as well. So here what we're going to do is I'm not heading back to the point, but I'm using my speed aura to get my Brig back to the payload quicker because our Brig chased with us. So what we need to do here is I need to use my taxi service as Lucio as much as possible, but I'm only going to go halfway. See, I take her probably about halfway, and she's just going to use her her shield bash and flail to get there quicker. So here, we're going to play up here. This is an amazing place to play because basically the enemy team has to get through here. They can't go through anywhere else. The only other place they could go is maybe like on this ramp, but even in order to get on that ramp, they're going to have to go through this little doorway to the left. So there's basically no way getting past us, right? They shall not pass. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to stay on heal, because one thing that you'll notice is I'm actually kind of low on ult charge, and that's going to happen a lot as Lucio. We already got the first point, and we're moving on to the second point of the game, but I'm only at 47%, and meanwhile my Zarya is over here, and she has like 77%. And another thing about Lucio is if you're on speed, you're not getting ult charge from your healing, which is rather important. So I'm going to save my amp up, not for the speed, but for the heal, mainly just to get ult charge and to keep them alive, because we are also down one healer, which is the Brig. So that's very important. I need to get my beat, because right now I am lacking an ult charge, and my beat is the only defensive ult that we have, which is something you really need. Defensive ults are incredibly huge, and they can turn the swing of the game. So you definitely need to work towards that. So I'm going to use this speed to back off a little bit here. I'm going to let them push in, and then I'm going to use my amp up on heal to keep them alive. And you see the Reinhardt was low, so I'm going to switch to speed here, which is always good. But you need to coordinate that. You got to tell them. So unfortunately, I get like sucked in and out of the graviton. There's not much we can do about that. And here's a really risky, like we all got purpled. That was the fattest Ananade by the enemy team. Really good job. And in a situation like this, there is absolutely no use of even having your heal aura on. It does nothing. So if you see a team who is purple, put it on speed and use your speed so they can disengage and immediately swap the heals once the purple is gone. It's common sense, really, but I think it needs to be said, you know. And here I'm going to use my speed aura, and then I'm going to swap it to heal during the amp up, and I'm going to look for boops because they are playing around this this environmental kill area here. And when you have you want to take a note, you're probably not going to get a environmental kill on a D.Va. She has boosters. But if there's a Zarya and there's an Ana, they don't have any mobility moves, so it's very easy for you to get environmental kills on them. So that's what you want to look for. You want to look for that, and if you can't get them, you can at least like bait out the personal barrier of Zarya. So fake that you're going towards the Zarya. It'll basically bait out her personal bubble, which can give her us an opportunity to then speed boost in and kill her, because she's also kind of low energy, which you can tell because they're glowing. Also from that last fight, you can see by using your heal boost on tanks rather than your speed boost, it gives you a ton of ult charge. So always balance that. If you're Lucio, you want to use your speed boost to get the kills, and you want to stay on heal during long sustained fights, obviously, and when people are low, and to heal them up, and it just gives you a ton of ult charge. But the speed boost is for the aggression, and you really need to coordinate with that. Always say to your team, I'm going to speed, give a countdown, go speed 3, 2, 1, anything that that works for you guys, but always coordinate when you're speeding. It's very important. That's what your team needs to know. Your team needs to know when you're about to speed and when you're about to drop the beat. Those are the two important callouts. So here I'm going to go for some boops. I miss it, but that's okay because it makes them back off. You see that they're scared, right? Because the Zarya knows that she could die here, so she immediately tries to back off. But another thing you can do with the boop, even if it doesn't get the kill into the kill zone here, you can boop her up against this like wall, like right around here, and it'll slow her down because then she kind of gets like stuck for a moment, and it'll make her like, you know, hit against the wall, and she'll have to like take a second to move. So you can use your boop in order to like slow down the enemy, which is great for staggering and to create more potential picks. Because as you see here, we pretty much have the advantage because they don't have a main tank right here. They just have D.Va and Zarya, and here we're able to get the DMAC, which is huge. Another thing at the high level strategy, you just want to leave the D.Va out of mech. As you see, she doesn't want to be out of mech because baby D.Va in a game like this, in a scrim match with, you know, with these type of games with high level players, D.Vas are going to kill themselves, and that's usually the right call. So if you're D.Va in a high level game, it's always better to just, you know, jump off the edge. I feel weird telling you to say that, but if you're D.Va, don't stagger. Just do what she does. Okay? So, back into the game. So we're looking at the points moving really slow. I think one thing to note here is that if you don't have 3 people on payload, it will move slower. But the bright side to that is that we're basically staggering them so well right now, because right now it's a 5v5 because the D.Va's gone and our Brig isn't there. But what's going to happen is we're gaining more ult charge, and we're gaining the advantage in ult economy, which is something really important. When you're working on a team, what you really need to do is you need to coordinate ults. You don't want to just use all 6 ults, right? See how we're kind of just using ults one at a time here. So one of the things that we're doing here in voice chat is we're communicating what ult we are going to use for each fight. You don't want to use every single ult simultaneously unless maybe it's an overtime situation and it's going to win you the game. Then yeah, go for it, use all your ults. But what you want to do is you go, all right, so this fight I'm going to use Nano, and maybe you use Earth Shatter. Alright, this next fight, I'm going to use Graviton. So you have to understand what your win condition is. Generally, what the win condition for every fight is something like Graviton comboed with something else. So Graviton is like the big ult. And then you always want to save the defensive ult. So if you're playing Zen or Lucio, you don't want to plan to use your support ult to win a fight. You use it to save your team from the enemies using their ultimate abilities, right? So that's how you want to use that. But you want to use things like Nano and Earth Shatter and D.Va Bomb and Rally. Rally doesn't even matter, like mostly Nano. In this situation, because it's GOATs, the best thing to do is to use Nano as often as possible because it's so easy to get Nano back when you're healing 3 tanks. And then Earth Shatter because Reinhardt is your main damage dealer, and he's going to get a ton of ult charge from the hammer swings because he's enabled with the bubbles and the speed and the 3 healers. So you want to use Earth Shatter and Nano as much as possible without using your bigger ults. You want to save your Graviton and your support ults for when you need to use them to absolutely win the fight or be saved during when the enemy starts to get aggressive and actually start to regroup. So that's basically for the GOAT strategy, and this can be utilized differently with other team comps. For example, if we were running a 2-2-2, which is kind of the more normal 2 tank, 2 DPS, 2 support, you want to kind of space out what ults you're going to use. I think whenever you have an Ana, and since Ana is extremely necessary here, I would say Ana in general is extremely necessary because she's very meta, she's strong, the anti-nade, the nano, but any team fight in meta, I think for almost every map right now, includes Ana in the team comp. And you have that, you want to use Nano pretty aggressively more than defensively in a 6v6 like match like this at the high level, because you can get Nano so quickly even with a 2-2-2. So I highly suggest using Nano aggressively on a Reinhardt because Rein Zarya and Ana are just extremely meta, as well as Lucio, because Lucio is enabling the Reinhardt to do damage, because the speed boost unfortunately isn't on nano boost anymore, because when the nano boost had speed boost, it was just extremely overpowered. So here the enemy team is going to anti us. They are going to get this like huge purple, and so I'm going to use my beat in this instance, because immediately we can start getting focused down. If you get antied in a solo ranked ladder game, you can probably live, because the enemy team isn't focusing or coordinating their damage on one target. But something that'll happen in these games is people will call a name, something like Reinhardt 1, Reinhardt 1, and then your whole team will just kind of jump on them in a fully coordinated game like this. People are listening to you and your callouts, and they will carry through with it. And focusing damage, all 6 people on one person, especially when they're antied and purple and they can't receive healing, it's just a death sentence, right? So your ultimate is a must. One of the things that's kind of unfortunate about the solo ladder is that a lot of the times you'll make callouts and a lot of people won't be in voice chat, they won't be listening to you, or they'll just be doing their own thing. So sometimes it kind of falls on deaf ears, you know? So playing in a competitive setting, I think even if it's an amateur one, it doesn't have to be like a top level one, just kind of an amateur setting, a little bit more laid back, a little bit more friendly. It can still help you improve as a player. You can definitely just learn from playing as a team. So I'm going to use my ultimate here because the nade was just huge. I'm going to try to hide from that Diva Bomb. And my Graviton was used here. And I definitely agree with this Graviton usage, even though we're committing ults. So at this time, we have the Diva Bomb and the beat on the enemy team, which is being used, and we're using our beat, and we just got done using our Diva ult. So at this point in time, I think because we're also just like really close to capturing it, I think it's completely fine to just commit our ultimates here, especially because I think this is a winnable fight, because we have Graviton. And here you'll see we get a really nice Graviton on 3 people, and we're able to get a lot of damage on them. Even though this Zarya is like extremely high energy, I'm just going to try to zone them, and they're almost going to get booped off. Not quite though. But I'm going to go back to point, and they're going to use their grav, but it wasn't a very good grav. I think their grav was actually a really big mistake. He had nano boost, and let's look back at this, right? Because we just killed the Diva. He's really low. So the Ana's right here. So he has Ana, he has the nano boost, but he's nowhere near the point. We killed the Ana really quickly. So now we're already at a 1 fight. We killed the Diva, we killed their Ana, and the Zarya's like alone. He's just here. There's all this space. No teammates are behind him or there, and he has 3 people in line of sight right here, and we're all kind of like spread out, right? We're all very spread out, so there's no way that the grav is gonna like hit all 3 of us. And then he kind of just chucks it right here at the point. And that just was a really bad play. They had the Reinhardt who was here, but he died just like a second after that grav hit. And they have the Lucio, but a Lucio and Rein isn't gonna compensate for the damage. It's just really bad usage of that ultimate for them. So he does get the kill on me, which is really good, but we ultimately get that point, and now we're both down gravs, but I think we're closer to our grav than they are, which is important to note. But also I believe we should be just closer in general to the, I think we have the ult advantage at this point, so I'm going to try and get my heal boost. Really good nano, because our Reinhardt was extremely low here. So our Reinhardt was really low here, and I was trying to help him by using my speed boost at first, because I wanted him to push and engage. Problem is he just got melted. So I immediately switched to heals, and really good nano, which really saves the fight. And what's really good about this is nano boost, of course, allows us to be more aggressive, but also it's really easy to build the nano boost. So using it aggressively, but also defensively, because he was low, is extremely good usage of nano boost. Reinhardt is basically your best nano target, and your secondary best nano target would be a Zarya. And the reason why you would nano a Zarya is because it helps her deal more damage, which allows her to build towards her next Graviton quicker, which can also be a really big swing of the game, and something to always take note if you're an Ana player out there. Using a nano on Zarya is also a really good target just to help her build towards Graviton. So if you see she's at like 70% or somewhere around 70%, using a nano boost would probably get her the grav. So here they have a Pharah, which is something to note. Pharah is a pretty decent counter and pretty good on this map because she, we aren't able to shoot or deal with a Pharah as goats. Not many people can hit her. Our D.Va is basically going to stick on her as much as possible. But also the Pharah can kind of boop us into the environmental kill zone area too, which is over here, which is kind of, it's possible. And they also have a Lucio who can do the same thing. So they got two people who have environmental kill potential, which is something to take note of. So I want to play around here and I want to try and boot people, but they want to as well, but they have the advantage in that situation because they have two people who can boop and I'm the only one who can do it. So that's something to take note. But it doesn't matter because right now we have a Nano Boost Reinhardt. So as you can see with the Nano Boost Reinhardt, every single one of them are looking on the ground and looking forward in this direction. As you can clearly see, they are all immediately distracted by the Nano. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and keep wall riding and look for opportunities to jump over here and to then boop them towards the right into that kill zone. So I'm going to get on the ground here, which is a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. You should always try to wall ride as much as possible as Lucio. That's the best thing you can do as Lucio. Always wall ride. So here I'm going to stick to healing. I'm going to kind of go half and half with the speed and heal. I definitely want to use my heal a little bit more than my speed in this situation because I'm only at 53% to my ult, and I really need to get my ult charge at some point. So here I'm going to really annoy the Brig. As Lucio, you always want to stick to a Brig. It's really good booping her away because she has her rally going right now too, especially because she has that movement speed. She can be really annoying. She does a lot of consistent damage and healing for her team. So booping her away means that she will hit your team less, which will mean she also heals her team for less too, as well as less damage. So you want to try and peel it. So here, I think this is really good. We got their Grav. The only thing that's really unfortunate about this is I don't have my beat yet. If I had my beat, I would absolutely use it right here because it would be very winnable in this situation. But because I don't have my beat and I don't have my amp it up, it's probably going to be a lost fight here. It's looking kind of even, but we're definitely hurting here, and I'm not able to heal them up. So I have my beat here. Was this beat good or not? Let's look back at this. So they used, what did they use? Let's look at what they used. So we got the purple here. They used Graviton, and then immediately after the Graviton, I think they used Barrage. Yeah, you can see the Barrage. One of the things that's good about this is that our D.Va did really good work. I believe he got the Pharah here, but we're still really low. We're critical. We have our Brig who's about to get penned. We have people that are really low here. I do have my Ana alive, so that's the good thing about this. My Ana is behind and able to heal still. And we got the pick on the Barrage, so they're down 2 big ults. That's basically their win condition, right? That was Barrage and Grav. That's their big combo right now. Also, a good thing to note, you see how quickly she got Barrage there? That was an insanely quick Barrage. She just swapped the Pharah like a little bit ago and she already has Barrage. That's the power of Pharah against goats. But also D.Va is like a direct counter to Pharah, so that's really nice for us. So here, I'm going to use my Amp It Up. And my Amp It Up, as you can see with goats, it's actually insanely strong. You'll see I get my beat really quickly. And because of that, I think I felt like it was winnable. I mean, it is an even fight. So they use 2 ultimates. We haven't committed any ult besides Nano Boost, which is very easy to get back. And so we've traded their damage dealer for our Brig, which is basically like a damage dealer. When you're playing goats, Brig pretty much is a damage dealer. Kind of like a mini version of Reinhardt in every sense. So here I'm going to use Amp It Up, and I immediately get my ult charge back. It goes so quickly. Another big thing that was good about this beat, and I think ultimately it was pretty good. We committed ults in this instance. As you can see, our guy got purpled. Our main tank got purpled. So using our beat to save him is pretty huge here. But also we committed the D.Va bomb. So we commit Nano and we commit the D.Va bomb. We're going to use the beat to commit to this fight. It's very winnable. It's even. We're both down 1, but we're all committing ults. The big thing to take away from this fight, though, is that they won't have Graviton for a while. So here, I'm going to go ahead and speed boost on this Zarya. Try and get her, because if you ever see a Zarya with high energy because she's glowing, she's basically like a little Super Saiyan, right? She's over here. She's red, maybe Kaioken times 10 or something. So she's really strong, and keeping a high energy Zarya is extremely dangerous, especially against goats. She's just going to melt D.Va, and that's one of the biggest things that you have to worry about as D.Va is Zarya can just farm you. So she needs to die. So I'm basically going to apply pressure to her. Even though she does a lot of damage, I'm feeling like confident because I have my beat right now. Because I have my beat, I'm going to go ahead and get aggressive. And my Reinhardt just pops off. Because he got the beat and he got that charge kill on that Lucio, we're just going to go ahead and win this fight. So ultimately, I think the beat it worked out extremely well for us, and it enabled our Reinhardt to get extremely aggressive. Even though he was purple, he was able to get 2 kills because he got the beat, and it kept us in the fight and really helped us snowball. So ultimately, it was extremely good. Using our Graviton right here is good because we're basically going to win the fight. So I would say that was a very clean round. I think my beat was a riskier beat. It wasn't a guaranteed 100% really good beat. So I think I could definitely improve on that. It did work really well. In a sense, it saved our Reinhardt because he was purpled and he charged in there and got a kill. But I do think it could have been better. Zenyatta Transcendence is extremely powerful defensive ult, but it also has its flaws because they are going to have anti-nade, so it can completely cancel it, which is something that makes beat like really strong right now. Because Ana is so good and always meta, and really good Ana players are going to land these like fat nades that you're not going to be able to do anything about as Zenyatta. Lucio's defensive ult kind of makes it so you don't have to worry about that because the shields care. So one of the things I'm going to do here on Zenyatta, something that was that you can't tell in this video, but we had our Sombra, something that you always want to do in the top level, especially if you have a Sombra. This is so important. You go right over here to their spawn door, you turn your game volume all the way up, and you listen. You are able to hear who is inside that spawn door. You're able to look inside the little windows, the little glass, right? You look in there, and you're able to see, oh, hey, there's a Mei, there's a McCree, there's a Tracer, there's a Widow, and you get free information on the enemy team. You know what they are running, and because of that, you know where you should be placed, where you should be positioned. So in this instance, I know that they do not have a Widow because it was communicated to me by the Sombra. So normally this place right here would be really terrible because Widow, bam, your face is gone, right? But because we're here and I know they don't have a Widow, I believe the Sombra communicated that they are running goats. So in this instance, I'm going to stay on the high ground. The high ground is essential as Ana and Zenyatta, especially on this first point because it will allow you to stay safe from harm. One of the things goats has trouble with is dealing with people outside of their range. They very much like to stick together as full 6. They like staying as a unit, and they like to be kind of a little death ball like this, and they like to just move directly to the point. Something that counters obviously high ground positioning would be a dive composition such as Widow Diva, Genji Tracer who can go to the high ground extremely easily, or a Widowmaker who can peek it and just take your head off. But because they're running goats, which is death ball, I can stay perfectly safe up here unless the enemy team transitions over to me and to where I am positioned. So let's get into that. So here I'm going to try and poke, do some ult. You know, get your ult chip damage in. That's something you always want to do. Also, I'd like to take notice, we are trying to counter the goats a little bit by running our Doomfist over here. Doomfist is an extremely good way at countering goats because he can just basically CC and stun and do all kinds of one-shot potential to the supports, and also just push people away and all kinds of crazy damage. Which is really good. Pharah is also a really good. Sombra is another pick that we have. EMP is completely devastating to tanks. So here, I'm just trying to get ult charge. I'm kind of unsuccessful here. And here's where we notice that they're going onto the high ground. At this point, we know this, and yet we still make the mistake of not dropping too early, and you'll see this. So here, I'm going to discord the Brig, and I'm going to try to line up the shot because the Discord allows me to see her, but she puts her shield up. So here's our main problem, and one of the strengths of goats. One of the things is, we should have jumped down so much sooner. Like, as soon as you see this, and they're over here, I mean, where else are they going to go? Obviously, they're going around here to get to us, right? That's completely the right play on their part, by the way. That's an amazing rotation, and there's not really anything we can do about it. And it was really smart of them to do that. I think we should have engaged them a little bit earlier, but our Sombra is not able to get a good hack, and because of that, we're kind of at a disadvantage. You want to wait for Sombra to get like a really good hack on the Reinhardt, and then at that point, you go in. But I don't think she was able to, unfortunately. So as you can see, we'll make a mistake here. I'm going to drop down, but I get slept, which is devastating. So what I do want to say here, the Zarya made a huge mistake. Zarya using right clicks, she doesn't have energy. It only did a little bit of damage to me. And all it did is it basically it helped me live. She woke me up. That was a huge mistake on Zarya's part. Zarya, do not do right clicks on the sleep target like that. That was a really big mistake by her. So let's go ahead and look at that. Was she shooting it when I got slept? Okay. So yeah, so I get slept right here and there's already a right click being shot out. So in this instance, I think the Zarya shouldn't have right clicked at all, because all this right click does is probably like a little bit of damage, because I doubt she has much energy charge at this point because we haven't done a single fight. Nobody's done anything, just rotations and movement. So this right click does like what? No ult charge whatsoever. It doesn't have kill potential. And at the same point, it disrupts the sleep. So really big mistake on Zarya. I don't think she should have used her right clicks here. Actually, what's amazing about that is the first right click, even though that was like unintentional because the sleep dart came out, like it was already in motion. The first one didn't wake me up, but the second one, which could have easily have prevented, because I was asleep. So she shoots this first one right here, and the sleep dart comes after the first one. That's okay. That could be a mistake. That's hard. They both go out. They're projectiles, right? But the second one that comes out, that was a huge mistake. She should not have shot that second one out because it woke me up. Because look, they're already here. You can see the Reinhardt shield poking out. See the Reinhardt shield? It's poking out right here. They're already right here. If I stayed asleep for the full duration, I would have just been dead. And immediately we would have been just destroyed. So Doomfist and Ana, I think they stayed up there a little too long, but I also can't blame them. I think they had the intention to save me because I got slept. So ultimately, it was my fault for getting slept. How we could have played that differently, I think both of our supports, or rather, my Ana and my Doomfist, I think they could have just dropped and let me die. I think that might have been the best situation because they still would have been able to go 5v6 against the enemy team. But because they stayed around, I think ultimately it leads to the point just being lost extremely quickly. And it's kind of my fault. Really, ultimately. I think that was really good sleep by the enemy Ana and an extremely good rotation. So here we get a really good hack and the Zarya drops without her team. So if you're in a situation, actually let's look back at that. Where was the Zarya positioned? Let's find out where the Zarya was positioned. So yeah, no, Zarya jumped first, and that was a mistake. If you're doing goats, don't jump first unless you're the Reinhardt. It is Reinhardt's job to go first. He will be the meat shield, so let the Zarya go in second. So Zarya gets hacked, and she falls first, which was a mistake. She should have waited for the Reinhardt to drop. As you can see, the Reinhardt drops a little too late. Ultimately, though, I think they will win this fight because they're at such a huge disadvantage. I'm going to go ahead and get damage in. This is where my mistake was. So it was a really good charge, but what I do is, and I should have either backed all the way to the right to this tunnel, or I should have backed all the way to the left. Staying here does nothing, and it doesn't change my line of sight. Because the Reinhardt is discorded, I want to left click him. Obviously, I can do a lot of consistent damage to him. I can heal in harmony my tank while he's discorded and taking damage. But what I don't do is I don't rotate. I am staying in the exact same position, which is extremely bad. Ultimately, though, I think this fight is lost already because we're already down 2 people, and we do get the Zarya, but it's just kind of a trade, and ultimately we're still down. So now it's like 3 people up alive, so we're just gonna die. I do think I could have killed that Brig, though. As you can see, the Brig was like 1 HP. If you see right here, if I see how I moved to the right there, and then I'm like moving to the right, and that was a mistake. I should have just moved all the way to the left. I think the left is a much better position because also there's the mini health pack over here. So that would have been better. And if I moved over to the left earlier, I would have killed this Brig too. Because as you can see, she's like 1 HP. Rather unfortunate. I would have at least been able to get a little bit more value, a little bit more damage, and more ult charge, which would have been better because they have Graviton, and I want to be able to get my defensive vault right around the same time as the Zarya is able to get her Grav. That's something that's very important. So because of their team comp, basically, like I said before with Widowmaker, being up here on this high ground is where you want to be because I have really good line of sight. It's extremely narrow. I mean, just look at this. This whole area is extremely good, right? Because they're going to come in through this tunnel or they're going to go through the high ground. But all of them are pretty much on the ground, right? Ana, Brig, Ryan, Zarya, they're all going to be on the ground. Lucio's going to be on the walls, but basically he's going to be in this area as well. And this is perfect line of sight for Zenyatta, and this is exactly what you want to do. It's so much easier to hit your orbs in this area, and if they get clumped up in this area, and that's something that's really good here in this strategy, you want to wait for the payload to move right here into this tunnel, and as this payload is here, it acts as natural cover along with the tunnel itself. And because of the tunnel and the payload, there's only a little bit of area where there's places to expose. And so it's just a really tough area for the enemy team to clog through because they're like just clogged. And it's really tough for the enemy to move through these two little areas with the payload. So because of that, it's really good to engage at that moment. Also, one thing, if you see that your Reinhardt is pinning a tank, if you put the Discord orb on him, it will greatly increase the damage of the Reinhardt pin damage. So normally, if you wouldn't kill a tank with pin, you Discord the target he's charging, and it will. So really important little Zenyatta information. So here, I'm going to leave my Harmony orb on the targets who are most likely going to take damage since they are at full health, and that will mostly be my tanks. And as we can see, we are communicating what ultimates we are going to use. So Nano Boost is our first ultimate that we're going to use because it's the easiest one to get back, and it's also really just like a small little damage boost. It's not like a big Graviton ult. See, we have Grav, we have EMP, but we're not committing them. We are instead going to save them for the next fight. So here, as we are using our next ultimates to win the next fight, we are already building towards the other Nano. So as you can see, we use our Grav and EMP, which is extremely deadly. I could argue, actually, that we probably didn't even need Grav, or we probably only needed one ult. I think looking back at this, although Grav EMP is an extremely good combo, I think we probably only needed to commit one of the ults. And so I'm going to stand back here. And the reason why is because if the enemy team uses their speed boost, they could get to me a lot easier if I'm on the low ground. But something of note here is once the enemy team, Zarya, has her Grav, and see right there? You see that little check mark above your head? You see the shields? I know that's Zarya because of the blue energy shields. Nobody else has that much except for Symmetra. But Symmetra, I mean, obviously nobody has that much blue health in general. There's only Zenyatta, Symmetra, and Zarya for blue shields. But if you see that big check mark when they're hacked, that means they have their ultimate. So I know Zarya has Grav, and at this moment, I want to move closer instead of being at this position where I'm safer. And the reason why I want to move closer is because there is less travel time from my Zenyatta ult. Meaning if they used Grav on my team and I was just all the way up there on the high ground, there'd be more distance for me to travel and cover with my Transcendence before I get to them, meaning that they'll probably die before I even get to use my Transcendence healing on them. Even though you move really quickly as Transcendence, it's just too much distance to cover. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get a little bit closer so I have less distance to travel for when they use their Graviton on my team, which is another reason why I'm pushing up just a little bit. I'm not pushing up to do more damage. I'm not trying to like push up to be really risky. I'm pushing up just so I can use my defensive ult as soon as we need to. And that's the main reason. I would do the same thing as Lucio. Actually, if I was Lucio in this instance, I wouldn't be wall riding. I would stay close to the ground because, as you know, with Lucio, he has to drop the beat onto the ground before it happens. So if you're up around in, the skybox wall riding or something, then it'll take forever for you to drop to the ground. And then by then, your beat might not save the person and he'll be dead. So here, we're kind of going to use Transcendence for this next fight to win it. Mostly, we're going to use it to react, because we're out of ultimates. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use my ultimate to react. And my ultimate is going to be the deciding factor to win this next fight, because we just used Grav, EMP, and we might be close to the Nano Boost or something right now, but we're basically going to just use my ult to win this fight. So here, we're going to be able to save them, but big problem, purple. And this is something that the Ana did a really good job of, was landing that purple. It's extremely difficult for Reinhardt, but luckily we got our EMP back. So what I'm going to do here is, if Anna is getting dove, and this is something that's going to be communicated, which is obviously why I do it, because Anna is calling out for peels. So I am going to peel by doing damage with the D.Va. And since both of us are able to pocket each other, I can just get in there and fight them real easily. I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to try and help the rest of my team. Instead of finishing off the baby D.Va, I think it's better to focus on the baby D.Va later because we can heal each other and help the team out with the rest of the fight first. So here we're going to try to commit and win the rest of the fight. And we're just going to leave the baby D.Va there for as long as possible. And try to make sure that she dies right around this time now because we don't want to get her mech back. But you do want to ignore her for as long as possible. So here I'm going to try to get the high ground again. I'm trying to wait for that anti, but unfortunately it just hits me anyways. And I'm just going to be able to get this high ground. This is really unfortunate because that bubble saved his life. It was really unfortunate. He gets the bubble, which allows him to boop that Ana onto the low ground. Extremely well coordinated by the enemy team. I give really good props to that Zarya bubble because I almost completely just killed that Lucio. He only needed one hit, and that bubble saved his life. And then he was able to boop the Ana onto the low ground right into the kill zone of the enemy team. So extremely good. I got my props to him. As you see, I'm already close to another Transcendence, which is the strong points of using a Zenyatta on defense against goats. Unfortunately, I am a little late to realize they just swapped to a McCree. I'm not sure when they did that. That was not information that was used in chat. I wish that people saw that. I don't think it was coordinated because I had no idea they had a McCree. So being on that high ground in that instance, if there was a McCree, is a bad idea. The only reason I was up there was because I thought they were still on full goats, meaning the only person that could have reached me was the Lucio. And in that instance, I could just kill the Lucio. It's not a big deal if he dove me. So here I'm going to stay on Zenyatta for the second point because I have Transcendence. But on the third point, I think Lucio is better for the environmental kills. But I also have to keep in mind the McCree. The McCree is a big thing right now because he can really just decimate. He can just kill you extremely easily. So here I'm going to use a Graviton on this Graviton. Using trans on the enemy Graviton is basically your entire purpose. And here I'm really unfortunate because I call for peels on this Brig, but she has a bubble, so there's nothing my team can do about that. It's a little unfortunate, but I think my team does pretty decently, but ultimately we lose that point. So at this moment, we're going to make some changes. I think the Doomfist is going to swap here too. And then I'm also going to be on a Lucio. Really bad amp it up by me. I don't like that at all. That was a big mistake. I probably could have gotten closer and used the speed to maybe try and help him get out, but I think ultimately he was kind of doomed. Nothing I could do about it because the Lucio and Reinhardt just overpower and Ana and Lucio. So here I'm going to be looking for environmental kills as well as amp it up because I need to get my ult charge as quickly as possible. We get a huge EMP and I'm going to go ahead and chase the Zarya. So one of the things about EMP is it takes away that blue shields away from the Zarya. And another reason why I want to focus the Zarya is because a high energy Zarya is extremely deadly and can win a fight by herself. But also she's hacked, she's low. And when you hack someone as Sombra, you see their ult charge. And because I know she doesn't have ult charge, it's really important that I kill her. So she stops building ult as soon as possible. We want to make sure that she doesn't get her grav. So we want to build the grab quicker than them. So here I'm trying to do some evasive movements, but I push a little too forward and I get punished. So he's getting pocketed by an Ana and Lucio. So that was a big mistake. If I had my Reinhardt there, I think the pushing would be acceptable because we had the barrier to fall behind. But ultimately that was a really bad mistake on my part. And I get a little bit punished for it, but I think ultimately it's okay because we're still in the advantage here. I just want to focus on healing instead of speed right here because they have the Earth Shatter. Really unfortunate play, and I think that's partly my fault because I walk right in front of Ryan. It's a really tough nano boost. I mean, clearly he was trying to use the nano boost on my Reinhardt who was at half health, right? That was the plan. Problem is that speedy old sneaky Lucio got in the way and ruined those plans. So this is something that could have been prevented if I stayed on the walls more or if we worked better with our teamwork and coordination, be like, you know, I'm going to nano now. I think that was more of a panic nano in order to Yeah, I think that wasn't communicated in chat. I think that nano boost was entirely panic because he got low health. So I'm sitting back here. The reason why I'm on the ground is because I'm trying to use my healing in order to get ult charge, and this is the best way to get ult charge, just be in the center of your entire team and just heal people. And that's what I'm trying to do. Unfortunately, I'm just moving like a snail on the battlefield because of that, because I'm trying to get this ult charge. And I think the communication was off. We should have communicated that nano, I think, and then I could have made sure to move out of the way. But ultimately, I do think it's more my fault than anything. And me being on the ground was a mistake for me trying to build it. So anyways, that nano boost was really bad, and I think it costs us the fight. And obviously our Reinhardt dies insanely quickly because of that. And then our Widowmaker is left alone, but there's just nothing he can do because he's really low. He's one just by himself there. So I'm going to go ahead and use our speed to get just to the point as quickly as possible, because we need to try and take this fight like right now. We have a huge Graviton, but we just don't have the damage because our Sombra and unfortunately our Widow just got picked too early, and because that we ultimately lose the fight. So in summary, I suggest every single one of you who are looking to get better and improve at the game to immediately start looking for teams. There are plenty of them, people on console, people on PC, it doesn't matter. Every single rank, people are looking to play together as 6 and scrim against other teams that are around an average SR of their own. I highly recommend it because it will help you work on teamwork, it will help you on coordinating ults, it will help you tracking ults, it will help you focusing targets, it will help you ultimately as a player and make you improve, and I think you'll have a lot of fun and you'll meet some great people doing it as well. Try to look towards a lot of Discord channels, there are plenty out there, maybe go to Reddit, go to forums, all kinds of places for you to search for people to play with. And do not feel like you can't do it unless you're at a certain SR or certain rank, because people are out there doing it every rank. I've seen it. And there's tournaments, all kinds of amateur tournaments that you can play in specifically for lower SR people. So go out there, go find a team, learn strategies, learn how to work together, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun doing so. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.